Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. Okay. So it feels like such a long time since we last spoke together. We've been going through electrical outages here in the northern part of California. Evidently, 800,000 people without electricity, and it's an interesting thing to see how the population responds to such disastrous, to some, circumstances happening to them. The long lines at the gas stations, the supermarkets being emptied of water and of various kinds of foodstuffs. It's very interesting to see. It's like people here were preparing for a hurricane, and it's interesting to see how a manipulation of a resource that we take for granted, even right now, I got the light here, and the electricity is running the phone. It's interesting to see how this has formulated a specific kind of response from the populations. And so I am grateful to be here with you today because of electricity. I have a generator, and so if worse came to worse, I could use the generator, which I did not do. I would have to. There would be some strong levels of effort if I were to hook that generator up. But I could do it. I could do it. But it was very interesting, and it gives us an eye into the different possibilities that may wait in store for us in the future. And so I want to basically say to people right now, and this is my Kundalini talking right now. I had no idea I was going to talk about this. If you read what I was just writing on Facebook, it has nothing to do with this type of thing. But here we are. Get a generator. Get some fuel to run it. Get some solar panels. For light. Get some things that don't addict you to the electrical grid. Do some things that allow you to survive without supermarkets, to survive without some of the things that we take for granted in this world, in this Western world of Northern California, at least. It's very, very interesting to see how people respond, and it's a great wake-up call for many of us to really look into how we choose to protect ourselves against things that may be removed. When the stores have nothing in them, when there is no fuel to be had, what then, my friends? What then? So look into that for yourself and trust that your Kundalini is with you all the time, but she is also going to give you warning. She'll give you warning. She'll give you levels of advice like you're hearing right now about the importance of self-preparation. And it's reflected all over the place in nature. You see the squirrels collecting food for the winter. You see the ants collecting food for the winter. You see all the different animals preparing themselves for they don't know what, but they're preparing themselves. And nature has taught them to do this. Shakti has taught them to do this. Mother Nature, Mother Shakti, same thing. Okay? So understand this and take the lesson. Take the lesson. Let the lesson be given and let it be received by you so that you learn from these areas. It's very interesting to see the response of the populations here, the long lines. Really long lines, abnormally long lines, for different items, certainly the gas stations and the food lines in the grocery stores. So take heed of this, and remember, put it in a positive context. It's not like, oh my God, they took the electricity away. You might want to just like go, oh, we get to camp. Damn it, we get to camp. We get to roast marshmallows over a campfire, and we can sleep outside, and there's no noise, and there's these types of things. I mean, try to make it as positive an experience as you can, because it is one. It is one. Okay, so I wanted to bring that up. Now, a little bit in regards to how this affects a Kundalini person is when the electricity goes away, all these frequencies also go away. Okay, the long wave, the short wave, radio signals, television signals go away. The EMF from your wireless router goes away, unless you've stored your phone with electricity from the battery. That goes away. There's a great level of cleanliness in the atmosphere and upon the environment, and so it's really interesting to see how we are inundated with these levels of frequency that really only serve to confuse us as we come into higher density levels. Higher density meaning, I should say, lighter density levels. The more you have the Kundalini, the more you purge with it, the lighter your density levels become. You might hear some noise in the background, and that's Ishta going to work on a bone. And I have Mr. Crow here. It's just like, say hi to everybody, Mr. Crow. Yes, yes. Mr. Crow likes to participate in these Kundalini talks. So thank you. He's paying rapt attention. I think he should be counted on here as some of the people that are viewing this live. Anyway, so without these frequencies that constantly try to chew away at our awareness, the radio signal, television signal, airline signals, police and fire signals, and the signals of the black operations that we're not told about. Without those signals, our Kundalini is really able to tie in and ground itself into the natural Schumann frequencies of the earth. These natural frequencies that allow us to ground ourselves, that allow us to walk in nature with such oneness and simplicity, and yet, within the higher frequencies of connection to the earth, connection to the plants, connection to the minerals, connection to the water, the wind, connection to all the other life forms around us that are not being interfered with by these man-made frequencies. It's very, very interesting. I was driving during the blackout, and on one side of the town you had, this is the town of Santa Rosa, on one side of the town you had total electricity. All the malls were working, the gas stations were working, long lines, but the gas stations were there, the street lights were there, and then the other half of the city, total darkness. And it paralleled this one street. So it was like, you cross the street and you're like in a different world completely. And then you cross back in, you're in the normal Western society. And this is really what it's like having Kundalini sometimes. You might live in this world of density, but when you come into the Kundalini, you go into that dark, natural space. Now, I would like for you to give me some sort of a happy face or heart or something like that, so that I know that I'm still being recording here. Because Rosemary just wrote that I've stopped talking, and I prefer not to talk to the air, but I will. It's just like any, just like any, alcoholic on the street corner. I'll talk to the air, and but I prefer not to do it here. So please let me know if I'm if, if I'm still recording here. So you have this line of demarcation. You have the line of ego expectation, and the ego expectation is this Western society that we have, with all the pornography and all of the instant gratification and all of the rules and the regulations and the wastage of energy. Thank you. Thank you. It looks like I might still be recording here. And Vincent tells me it did not stop. Thank you, Vincent. That's what I wanted to know. So yeah, you have all of the wastage of light, the wastage of energy, the wastage of food. I mean, I worked in the restaurant industry for many years, and just a second, Ishta, can you take that a little further away? No? I know you can hear that. I gotta have to. Come here, honey bunny. Thank you, baby. Thank you, honey. Here we go, baby. All right. Right over there. That's right. Okay. Just a little too close. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so that line of demarcation between absolute darkness in the middle of the night, we're talking like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and the lighted areas of the ego. And we venture into the darkness, with trepidation and with fear and with uncertainty, because we can't see that far ahead of us, and so we gravitate towards the lighted egotistical areas, you see. And so this is where fear management is really, really, really important, and to take that light of grace with you into the darkened areas. Last night this morning at 2 a.m., I was walking one of the dogs, and we come to this one street. It's called Winding Rose, and it's this totally darkened cave of a street, no light at all. It's just, it's like walking into a dark, dark, dark cave, and I love walking into that area. I just love walking there and coming into this dark, dark, dark area with the light, being kind of consumed by the darkness, and I get as far into it as I can, so that I'm totally into the black, and I turn on my headlight. Bam! It just lights everything up. That's your Kundalini. That's your Kundalini. And you don't even need to flip a switch. You just know that it's there, and that it's helping you, and that you are free from harm. Okay? All people have Kundalini, but it's only the people that are in the activated or awakened state that can really begin to utilize these techniques that I'm talking about. Sorry for shaking the camera that way. I want you to venture into these darkened areas. Okay? I want you to venture into these darkened areas, and I want you to really savor it. Savor that. Stand still for a moment and just feel the lack of light, the lack of artificial light, and feel the Kundalini light turning on. Feel that Kundalini light turning on. And you don't need a technique for this. You just need to trust, really. If trust is a technique, then okay. and use that trust. But, I have people going outside, some of the private students I have that I still have, they go outside and they do things that are totally immersed in the darkness of the night. The nighttime is often understood as the time for the sacred feminine to come forward. Sacred masculine is in the daytime, the sun. Sacred feminine is in the nighttime, the moon, the stars. And it's very important for people to recognize that sacred femininity. Our world is so plagued with an overemphasis on masculinity. It's important for you to really, really recognize the feminine within yourself, but also the feminine that is exterior to you. Go into that dark forest. I'm not saying endanger yourself. I'm not saying to do that. I am saying to move into the darkness with supreme confidence and trust that sacred feminine is with you and guiding you and helping you. I'll give you an example of that. I believe it was in somewhere like 1974. A jet was flying over the Amazon jungle from Brazil to Lima, Peru, and the jet literally fell apart. Passenger jet fell apart at altitude, but I don't know what the altitude was. It was obviously maybe falling apart and losing altitude at the same time, but people were found embedded in the soil of the jungle, still strapped to their airline seats. Some of them were face into the mud, and some of them, were in trees. Everybody was dead. Everybody was dead, except one person. And she was blind. One blind woman. Her passenger seat landed on the back and in the mud, and so it absorbed, plus the trees, the mud, everything the shock of the landing was absorbed, and she was able to unstrap herself and stand. But she was blind, and she's in the middle of the Amazon jungle. Can you imagine? And she was able to just start walking in a specific direction. And she was guided. And in the Amazon jungle, there are 5 or 6 different species of just wild cat that will hunt you and eat you. Jaguar species and ocelot species and, species of panther that will come at you and track you and eat you, in addition to the anacondas, the largest snake in the world, and the poisonous spiders, and oh my gosh, it just goes on and on and on with regards to predatory creatures that exist in the Amazon jungle. And yet this blind woman literally walked miles and miles and miles in the jungle until she reached a road, and she just stopped at the road, and a truck driving down the road picked her up and brought her back into civilization. Okay, this is quite a journey. Now, this woman was not Kundalini activated, as far as I know, but it's something to say about trusting the forces that have brought you to this world and guide you through the jungle of the ego, guide you through the jungle of having to face your fears and go into the darkness. Okay, something I want you to ponder on. And I am going to make a few adjustments here at the house, and I'll come back to you with another video. Thanks for watching.